for some of the most heinous crimes imaginable. Of those arrested, 96% either had criminal convictions or pending criminal charges for crimes including homicide, sexual assault, sexual offenses against children, aggravated assault, battery, domestic violence, and weapons offenses. One of those arrested is a 40-year-old El Salvadorian who was convicted of first-degree murder in November of 2009 and was sentenced to 25 years to life. In August, ICE issued a detainer for this individual, but the Los Angeles County Jail denied the request and instead inexplicably chose to release this murderer into the community they are sworn to protect. Another of those arrested is a 35-year-old Mexican citizen who illegally re-entered our country after he was deported. This individual was arrested for sexual intercourse with a minor in March of 2016, was later arrested for domestic violence in violation of a court order in January of 2018. ICE issued a detainer for this individual, but once again it was denied, this time by the San Diego County Jail, which then released this criminal back into the streets. Thanks to ICE's remarkable efforts, these two felons, as well as others, will no longer be allowed to prey on American citizens. And while I'm proud to see these criminals are back behind bars, it's important to note they should never have been allowed to walk free in the first place. Political leaders who support sanctuary city policies must stop putting politics over the public safety of their communities. I hope that they will look at the Angel families and see the real and tragic consequences of their actions and the victims that could have been protected simply by working with the department to enforce the rule of law. To any leaders who are enacting or proposing sanctuary policies, I say this: do your job. Uphold and follow the Constitution. Protect your communities. Cease these harmful policies and allow your local law enforcement officers to partner with DHS to protect American citizens. Your country and its people deserve better. We all share a common moral and legal duty to protect the American people, the homeland, our communities, and the rule of law that keeps us free and safe. This responsibility should not be abdicated for any reason. Again, I'd like to thank the men and women of ICE for their hard work, their dedication, their service, and most importantly, their sacrifice. You continue to do a tremendous job despite some of the most difficult circumstances, and I am incredibly proud of your work. With that, let me turn it over to Acting Director Pham, who will provide details regarding the success of Operation Rise. Director, podium is yours.
Mr. Secretary, thank you very much. To the men and women of Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement, I want to extend my heartfelt appreciation and thanks to you all for your steadfast dedication to applying the rule of law, public safety. To the Angel families who were adversely impacted by tragedy based upon these sanctuary policies, I wanted to let you all know that my thoughts are with you as we begin to discuss the successful results of Operation Rise. Operation Rise was a recent operation conducted by ICE's enforcement and removal operations throughout the Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco areas between the dates of September 28th and October 2nd of 2020. The objective of Operation Rise was to identify, locate, and arrest criminal immigration fugitives and to ensure that they were timely removed from the United States. This operation focused on apprehending individuals in certain jurisdictions where ICE detainers were not honored. The results, as you see, include those convicted of murder, violent child sex offenses, drunk drivers, domestic violence offenders, and many others. The operation was a success because we were able to secure over 120 individuals so they would not be in a position to hurt anyone else. Thanks to ICE's dedicated officers, over 120 immigration fugitives are now in custody, awaiting removal from the United States. More than 95% of those arrested in this operation have prior criminal convictions or pending criminal charges, and were free to reoffend because of California's non-cooperative sanctuary policies that politicized public safety. As you can see by the presented chart, the aliens apprehended have committed serious crimes against children, spouses, loved ones, and other innocent victims. Specifically, ICE was able to detain the following individuals during Operation Rise: 2 individuals convicted of murder, multiple aliens convicted of violent criminal sex offenses against children, multiple aliens convicted for violent sexual assaults. The list goes on. Unfortunately, this is not a new battle for us. ICE has tried time and time again to get cities across the country to cooperate with us and recognize the importance of our shared public safety mission. Because of Operation Rise, multiple communities are now safer than they were a week ago. Strong local partnerships and reliable cooperation are vital to a successful law enforcement posture. As the nation's premier federal law enforcement agency, it is absolutely frustrating for our officers, agents, and investigators to know that victims and communities across this country and in these cities continue to struggle with public safety when we had the opportunity to help the locality who refused to cooperate with us. And it's all because a lawfully executed detainer is ignored, and quite frankly, a simple phone call is not made. When we lodge a detainer, we are not asking the state or local enforcement officer to ask any individual about their immigration status. ICE is the one making the enforcement action and those determinations. All they need to do is call us before they release the individual. That's it. Just a phone call so we can help protect the American people and our communities. A phone call would have saved Mr. Rocky Jones, who was murdered by an alien who was wanted by ICE, but released into the community by a non-cooperative jurisdiction in California. Folks, crimes committed after a removable alien is released into the community are all preventable. What happened to Mr. Rocky Jones could have been prevented had the locality cooperated with ICE. At this time, I also want to introduce Mr. Tay Johnson with ICE, the Acting Deputy Director, as well to his left, Mr. Peter Berg, the Acting Deputy Executive Associate Director as well for ICE. Mr. Secretary.
All right, we'll open up to some questions and answers. If you do have a question, please identify yourself and who you're with. Thank you. Yep. Or we'll go back there.
Hi, Priscilla Alvarez with CNN. You mentioned more ICE presence in California. I was hoping you could elaborate on that. Should we expect to see an uptick in enforcement in the coming weeks? And what is your response to critics who say that this is this doubling down on enforcement is because of the presidential election in November?
Sure, a couple of answers, and I'll let Tony talk a little bit specifically about California. I will say, when we target sanctuary city policies or sanctuary cities, it's not about Republicans, it's not about Democrats, it's not about elections. It's about dangerous policies that are dangerous for that community. So we're going to target any community where we see that those dangerous policies occurring. We're going to go in there. We're going to pick up individuals that should not be in those communities. So wherever they're at, obviously we understand and we know that California has a number of sanctuary cities in their jurisdiction. And so we started there. Of course, I talked about phase one. We're going to continue enforcement actions across the country, and ICE does this every day, so it's nothing new for them. What was the first part of your question again?
Well, I wanted to give you the opportunity to respond to critics who say that this is tied to the presidential election.
Right. So it's not, obviously, I kind of commented on that. It's not about an election. It's not about Republicans or Democrats. It's about the sanctuary city policies. Specifically regarding California, in my comments earlier during my prepared remarks was just to underscore the fact that ICE officers have to go into these communities regardless. So there is a sanctuary city jurisdiction. It doesn't wall off ICE officers from going in and do their job. They're still going to have to go in. We oftentimes have to go in with more officers for not only their safety, but for the safety of the individuals in those communities. So my point earlier was if there seems to be an irrational notion or an incorrect notion, I would say, that you're somehow preventing ICE from coming in to do their job if you enact a sanctuary city policy of some kind, the opposite is actually true. They're going to have to come in with more officers to do a job that could easily have been done in a jail setting without going into the community at large. Tony, do you want to comment on anything? You good? Okay.
Right on the head.
Right. Next.
Claudio Seda with Univision Network. We are hearing that the arrests and the deportations are not done with